Can I have a motion to reconvene public meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Marisol, can you say the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence for the men and women who are serving overseas and at home? Thank you. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Murphy? Mrs. Mallon?
Present.
Mrs. Kennedy? Mrs. Augulus? Dr. Adams? Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno? Mrs. Hutchinson? Mr. Kohler-Hefar?
Happily here.
Mr. Hauser?
Present.
Mrs. Pappy?
Present.
And myself, the district clerk.
Can I please have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 24th, 2023 Board of Education meeting? All in favor? Aye, motion carries. Discussion items. Can I have student government report? Are there any representatives here tonight? Okay. Board topics. Food service, everyday offerings, and committees. That's going to be me, I believe, although we could all jump in. Because today we ended up going to, for food service, we ended up going to OBMS, where they had an outstanding day of Menino's, partnered with our principal and AP, serving the food with Whitson's. They partnered with Whitson's. Chef Tony was there, and then we actually had two other chefs. We had Chef Mr. Piombo
And Chef Black.
and Chef Mrs. Black, and they were excellent. It was awesome. I hope to see that more often across
They also
districts.
pulled 2 or 3 students per period to be guest chefs with them.
It was so nice, it really was. Okay, Headley.
I didn't go with the pasta. I tried the chicken popcorn, a popcorn chicken. It was crispy. Kids liked it. Most kids ate pasta today, though. Then I tried the cheeseburger or hamburger. It was very good. Then I tried the chicken burger, and that was very good too. So, we went somewhere else last week, and we tried their food, and it was horrid. Everything I said was good was horrid where we went, right? The hamburger was horrid.
It wasn't horrid, it was,
It wasn't our district.
it wasn't horrid. It was nice that we were able to go and see something different. It is very nice that other districts are willing to open their doors for us.
Correct.
And it was very nice that, people were very nice and took us around and showed us things and showed us something different if we were self-operated. It's good to get this kind of knowledge, Lee, even though.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing. It's good to get the kind of knowledge, but it made me feel good that our food was so much better. It wasn't a comparison. Our food was just so much better. They were very generous with their time. The meatballs in the elementary school were very good, but overall, there was absolutely no comparison to what we serve compared to that particular school.
I would just like to see in the future, which I have already, and that's why I put this on today, I would like to see more simple, we had discussed this today with Whitson's when they were there. It would be nice to see some more simple foods that kids eat. It should be what the kids like, not what we
And
like.
something I discussed with Whitson's today is bringing back the stations to the high school.
Oh,
The
100%.
salad bars, the sandwich station, the smoothie station that they had last year.
They had a coffee station at one time.
Yes, I spoke to Whitson's about bringing it back. She said she needs cabinet support, she needs board support to do it. I mean, I'm willing to support it. The kids would love it if they could have that food at the high school.
I don't know why it was taken away.
I think that
Staffing
offering,
issues, too.
it is staffing issues too, but if we could somehow try and make it better at the high school for the kids to enjoy the lunch. at the elementary school, I think making it bold and daring is fun, but not every kid is bold and daring. A lot of kids like simple mac and cheese. They like the grilled cheese sandwiches. If we can keep an ordinary option, as they call it, versus a bold option for the non-picky eaters or the picky eaters, if we could have a little more not diversity, but more options on the menu, maybe.
I like the idea of the options, but like what you just said, like the bold, I said that today to them. I just think that most kids eat the most traditional foods, and while it's nice to try something new, maybe do that once a month. I don't know that I would do it once a week. I don't know that I would, it's more important that kids are eating something than that we are, so that everyone knows, we are doing for the next month, it's gonna be all secondary schools. There will always be popcorn chicken, correct? So popcorn chicken, which is pretty much so far the one that most kids eat. I mean,
It's a fan favorite.
it is. They call it a fan favorite. Is it something that you want your kids eating every day? Maybe not. But here's the thing. I know for myself and for a lot of parents I spoke to that we've all said the same thing. Isn't it more important that your kid eat something? Especially if they're staying after for sports, especially if they're staying after for clubs or the plays or whatever, the arts, whatever it is they're staying after. They could be there for an extended period of time from, 7 in the morning until 7, 8 o'clock at night. That's a long time if these kids aren't eating. And bags of chips is just not going to do it, as what they eat as a meal of some
And just to clarify, the only plates in the garbage comment from today, there really were only plates in the garbage today because the kids love the food. I spoke to all the kids and they were like, oh, it was pure happiness was how one student described it. Another student was, please always have this for us. Like, it's hard for us to always have Meninos come in and help them cook their food. For $2.80 a meal or $3.15, whatever it is. But they loved it, and that's why the plates were empty. The food was amazing. All the other days, the food is just, and that's why it's all in the garbage.
But they talked about having the Caesar salad,
Yes.
and that went over better than the popcorn. What went?
Carrots, apples,
Yeah.
green beans.
So if they love the Caesar salad, right? That's what I heard.
They did.
I have to say a big thank you to Menino's too for coming in and doing that for our students and staff. It was really very nice. Very nicely done. Nice partnership with Whitson's. I would love to see that more often and across the district. I think it would be great, especially in the other secondary schools, the high school, RMS. It would be nice to see things like that. I think the kids would love it. It was, like I said, bravo to Mr. Piombo and Mrs. Black. Great job today. That was amazing.
And Chef Tony intends to reach out to a family in the northern end of the district and do a similar type of thing in RMS within the recent, the future. So we can look forward to going again when they're at RMS.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make these appearances, but there was a discussion about the self-serve as well, right? Did you visit one of the buildings or school districts that do a self-serve or have a conversation about a self-serve?
Self-op.
Self-op.
Self-op, yes, yes. The issues that I saw that would be for our school district especially is the refrigerator. We don't have freezer space like they do. We don't have, some of the things we would have to purchase would be very large ticket items. They told me, I was even in shock when they told me that even if you wanted to buy an extra slicer, it was like $8,000 for an extra slicer. Like there was some things that the ticket prices are very large, especially the freezers. And they had a whole room in this one school, like for storage. Like we have buildings, I mean, I'm not gonna name when, but some of the elementary schools that I've been to, where I'm like, when I wanted smaller class sizes, saying, let's make this a classroom. And I was driving John Allen crazy, saying this, there's no more rooms, Jack. There's no, so I just don't know where you would put all this food you have to keep on hand.
And Mylan, I did ask some of the challenges that they faced being a self-op, and she said staffing, for sure, and getting the food, like, because it's all back ordered or not available, trying to find it within the regulations of New York State is also an issue sometimes. It has to be a certain percent of whole grain, a certain percent of low sodium, so she said that was some of the main issues she found.
Another thing that she said that was really kind of hit home for me is as a school district, we have to buy off a bid. Pizza in certain schools that had children with that need. And both companies on the bid have dropped off the bid because the prices for food have gone up so high that they were selling it at a loss. So they actually dropped off the bid, so she has no way to get gluten-free products at this point. So there was a lot of cons that we saw.
I did, however, like, and I know this is gonna be kind of funny, but I did, however, like that they had what was called a la carte area that I thought would be nice if we could add something like that. And I was told that that we'd have to really sit down with whether we go with Whitson's again or we go with another company. We would have to sit down when we finally go over those bids and we finally go for an RFP. And at that time, we could ask them about all these things. Like, because they had at one school, which I thought was really nice, is they had a whole setup where it was just like a grab and go of every kind of snack you could think of, every kind of, some things that maybe they're not, like for instance, there was
They had
Pop-Tarts.
stations,
Yeah, they had
Jackie,
like.
they have
like
a salad
something-
station every day, they have a
Yes.
hot station every day, they have a cold station every day,
It's big.
every day.
Yeah, it was big. It was, I mean, it was big. So in that regard, I can say it's much bigger and more selections than we have, definitely. And they definitely have, like I said, I liked more so their snack area where I noticed a lot of kids go if they wanted something like the granola bars, things that like a lot of us pack for our kids, but maybe if you forgot or the kid wants another one. I'm saying stuff that I kind of liked as the grab and go.
So the other thing that I was under the impression is that parents wanted a survey so that we can obviously build something that whoever the vendor may be, whether it's Whitson or somebody else, so they have a general idea what
So
the community thinks.
I actually asked Bob to work on that with his nutrition committees, because I think they're kind of already in process of discussing those kind of things. And one of the things that I would suggest is once the template comes from the state, because the RFP template for food service is actually created by the state, that the board does a work session, not a meeting, a work session where really the only thing that's on the agenda is the discussion of the template and maybe some add-on things that you wanted to add on as, if you could have an additional a la carte station, what would those prices be and that kind of thing that we could actually add on to the RFP to send it out.
Okay.
So that would be my suggestion, that sometime in March, after the RFP template comes out, we do a work session, and during that work session, we look at the RFP line by line as a board and decide where you want to change it, because you can always make it better. You can't go lower than the minimum on the RFP, but you could always increase and you could always add things as add-ons. So
Will
if
that
you,
be community input as well?
so generally at a work session, there's no public comment or anything like that, but if we had the information from any kind of survey, we could actually, put
Well,
that on the
that's
board
something
and
that
work
we
through
have
it and things
something
like
to
that.
work off of.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
And on the survey, I had suggested maybe a comment area so that parents could give us a little feedback of their own, what they appreciate or don't appreciate about the lunch program now.
Marisol checked the garbage at the elementary school when we went, because she likes to check the garbage. And
You get that from me, Marisol.
do, I like
it was full.
Yes.
It was full. It had everything in it. I mean,
There was a kid that ate the meatballs throughout the whole sandwich. Somebody just got the whole tray just for the chocolate milk. Literally threw the whole tray in the garbage just to get the chocolate milk.
right?
I think it's consistent where the problem I think that we all are facing, and this goes across Long Island, is the food. You can only give a certain amount of calories, certain amount of spices, certain amount of this. I think the problem is because of that, the guidelines are so strict and stringent that you can't really, there's not so far off you can go. That's really the problem, right?
Not a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, so if there's no wiggle room, then it really, I want to see what other companies come in at, not to take away from Whitson's, but I'm saying, I want to see the competitiveness, I want to see what they do, and if there are other companies that put in an RFP, I think we should go to those schools that have it, and we should take a look, because to be perfectly honest, without seeing it for ourselves, you believe half of what people tell you got to really see it.
I just think parents. Well, the parents, they pay for it, so they should have some input.
Milo, you gotta put your mic on, because
The
we're all
parents paid for it, they should have input.
Put your-
No, because I'm saying the people at home can't do it. Correct. Next thing is committees. So, this morning was the Health and Safety Committee, which went over very well, went over a bunch of different things that John's looking into this. So we'll be going over that stuff, looking into purchasing some vehicles and things like that. The other meeting that I was at was the emergency management meeting, which was excellent. I definitely want to thank Suffolk County Police Department for coming. And they'll be coming in and they're gonna be doing some assemblies and some things in the future. And really want to thank Don Flynn, Adam, for you guys being there and for all that you guys do for us. Safety has been in our forefront and it's very important in today's day. The other, anybody else have any committees they've been to or any?
I missed the mental health because we were at the other school district looking over their lunch program, so.
I was with Jackie this morning, visiting John, hearing what they have to say about the grounds and where they're going.
Just want to say one thing. So it came to my attention, I'm gonna say I had no idea about it, so I apologize, that we have some really great teams that we haven't recognized. So I definitely want to say congratulations to the hockey team. While it's not sponsored solely by Connecticut, it is Connecticut, Bayport, and Sayville, right? It's a combined team. They did an excellent job. They're playing Friday night. They are going to the championships, is what I'm being told. And so congratulations to all those guys doing what they do best. You know, wishing you all the best on Friday. Hope you guys win, and we're very proud of you guys. Yeah, if anybody wants to go to the rinks, it's Friday night. I believe that you have to get tickets. I'm gonna try to find the link to get tickets too. So if anybody finds it, send it to me. And again, I also want to say congratulations to the track team. They also,
The boys won
Boys
the
track
large
team
school,
went-
yep.
all the way, Marisol, you can take it.
No, that's okay. The boys track team won the large state championship. The girls placed sixth, actually. They placed in sixth place for the large school. So congratulations to them. Amazing. Yep, because it's a large feat. It's a lot of kids running. So
We have so many wonderful things going on. We went to the play. We went to the yeah.
Matilda and
Did we go to, did we talk about RMS's play last time? I can't remember. I just know both were excellent.
yes, amazing.
Went to RMS's play, went to OBMS's play, Matilda. Excellent job by all the kids, staff. You know, thank you to the teachers who run it, the crew, the stage crew, everyone who helped. The kids did an amazing job. RMS, we went to that one. High School Musical was amazing as well. They did such a great job. We would like to give recognition and certificates to those teachers that are running it, but we would like to wait until after the high school one so that we can do all of them.
I would like to, are you done? Oh. So this past Saturday, I had the privilege of being able to sit in at the Model UN conference at the high school and observe the debates of the various committees. They were broken down into 6 committees. They had the U.S. Senate, UNICEF, Security Council, they had a Women's Committee, UN Habitat, and a Futuristic Committee. 11 schools from Long Island participated. It was so fun to see the kids all dressed up in their suits and their business attire. The students in the various committees represented all different countries from around the world. I was impressed with the articulation of the students, how they debated against each other, arguing for or against whatever bill was on the table. As I sat in the U.S. Senate Committee, I hate that I'm going to be partial, but that was literally my favorite committee. I was there for over an hour. It was so fun. I watched the filibuster be formed and voted on. I saw bills pass and get turned down. Each senator defended the position of the bill. It was really, really an amazing experience. And I want to thank Mr. Lieberman for both stepping up and having the club be a reality for these students, which I heard there was almost no UN, model UN, because nobody was stepping up. So thank you, Mr. Lieberman. Thank you to Ms. Bay for her work and mentorship throughout the whole program also. The students actually ran the show, and it was impressive, so kudos to all of them.
Did they set up like the UN?
Yes,
They did?
yes,
They
it was
did?
so great. They
Did
turned off
everybody-
the lights when they voted. They blocked the doors so
Did
nobody
they
could
talk
look
about
in.
who sits where, like in the UN?
I walked in on a bill being passed, so,
They were
I
already
didn't-
set
yeah,
up.
they were already set up, and
I went to the UN. and
it was so fun. The Women's Council, the Women's Committee, they were arguing. The futuristic that was fun. They were really into it. But it was just great. Some of the countries, the student representing that country would speak in the accents of said country, so they were trying to like really get into the role. So it was amazing, and I was so glad I went.
I wanted to go, I had to work that day.
Yeah, it was 13 hours of a Saturday that these kids gave up, and amazing. And at 7:30 at night, they were still ready to go, so it was great.
And let's remind everyone, Pippin is going to be the play in the high school. I believe it's the 16th, 17th, and 18th. So if you haven't seen any of the high school plays, or you like to see the plays, or you just want to support the kids, check it out. It's awesome. They do an amazing job. I always feel like you're like off Broadway there. They really, especially when they get to the high school level, it's amazing.
So I am going to put a caveat on that, because if you've never seen Pippin, it's a little bit for mature audiences. So in the last 5 to 6 years, we've actually brought the fifth graders up during the school day to see certain scenes of the plays. The folks are working on to see if there's parts of the play that we can show fifth graders and not breach their sensitivity. So they're working on that. If they can't figure out how to do that, because it's usually it's like a dress rehearsal, so we don't want to change too much about the play right before our kids perform it for the general audiences. So we're trying to see if we can get that done, and if we can't, we'll come back to that next year again, because the fifth graders are such a great audience. The seniors are being invited by Mr. Malafronte, so he's been reaching out to the local organizations to see if the seniors want to come out. We won't be doing what we did, I guess, 8 or 9 years ago. We used to have them for dinner. We used to bus them and bring them in, and that has kind of slowed down. In fact, the people who used to run that unfortunately have passed away. So, but I just want to put a little caveat in that you probably don't want to bring your second grader. Maybe middle schoolers, but it's definitely a little bit more mature of an audience.
Okay, I've never seen it.
I have a bunch of things to go through quickly. I was honored to be invited to the Unity ceremony at the town of Islip. I'm the educational arm of the anti-opioid committee, so it was one of the things that we were invited to, is to be part of this, and it was just a wonderful celebration of all the different cultures that are within the borders of the Islip town. It was just a wonderful day, and I'm actually going to steal some of the things that they spoke about when we have our first T-Bird Project meeting, which should be happening right after break. I'm just waiting for a couple more PTAs to give me their members, and I want all the PTAs represented. At that meeting, SCPD handed out their brochure describing the test that's going to be held, and it's actually going to be held on Saturday, June 17th, right here at Connecticut High School. The application deadline is Wednesday, April 19th, and then the test itself will be held at the high school. So if you're interested, it's joinscpd.com for more information. Couple things happening in the school district ourselves. On Thursday, February 9th, the Connecticut School District and Family Service League, so our Director of Special Services, put together with the Family Service League a Parent University virtual workshop. It's suicide safety for parents. We take these topics extremely seriously. We want you all to be informed about changes in behavior that you should be a little bit concerned about if they're happening with your own children. It's open for parents and caregivers of students of all ages, because unfortunately even youngsters are hurting themselves these days. So you can register on the website. You can email Joanne Pisani if you can't use the code, but it is Thursday, February 9th from 6:30 to 8:30. You can sit in your house and watch it during Zoom.
Is that put on our district website?
It's on the district website. On Friday will be PS I Love You Day. Our students from the student government spoke about that a couple meetings ago. This will probably, if it hasn't been sent out to you, it will be sent out to you. But we're asking for, in order to kick off DASA week, which is the week after that, on Friday, February 10th, we will kick that off with PS I Love You. And the mission of this is to spread love in order to decrease bullying and promote mental health awareness. We strongly believe that by educating students about mental health, this difficult conversation will be easier to discuss. On the second Friday of every February, we encourage communities to wear purple to foster kindness and a welcoming environment. There are activities for families as suggestions on the back of the brochure, so if you're interested in that, and I know that student government was selling the t-shirts, all the board members received one from me for them to wear on Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Another announcement from SCPD, and I have all these because they were kind enough to join our emergency team meeting the other day, and I'm very excited about the partnership that we have with them. On Monday, May 8th, it is high school day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. They will be introduced to a police career. They have demonstrations. They'll do the distracted driver / sobriety demo and what to do when stopped by a police officer. Tuesday through Thursday, middle schools and elementary schools can go from 10 to 2. It's being held at Suffolk County Police Department Headquarters, 30 Yaphank Avenue, Yaphank, New York. And they will show the kids the SCPD helicopters, the Marine Bureau and crime scene folks. They'll tour the police museum. They'll meet their canine teams. We actually sometimes bring the canine teams right into school. I know I've actually met them at Basti multiple times. And that's mine.
All right. Anything else they want to add?
So you brought to my thoughts, are we doing in the high school this year a career day where I think we did it last year, where we brought different professionals to come down and speak to our children?
Didn't they do that already? The colleges came in?
No, I'm talking about,
I think that's the middle school.
Usually it's the middle school.
Yeah.
oh, the middle school. Are
I
we
know
doing-
I got an email from OBMS. I know they're doing it.
We're doing it too. RMS is doing it too.
Okay, beautiful.
It's not Zoom.
It's usually in the spring.
And the high school doesn't do this?
I think they do college.
They do college.
Well,
Yeah.
college day, but everybody's college ready or college want to go, so they should be offering opportunities to these kids that,
I think like BOCES goes, the military is there, right?
Everyone is there.
The military recruits.
yeah, but it's not the same as a professional
No, I
from
get it.
different organizations or different fields speaking to children. Because what they were exposed to at middle school, they're gonna forget about that. Now, maybe 11th grade, there should be a professional, professionals that come down and speak to our students from all different backgrounds. Cybersecurity, it's,
Those are mostly volunteers that
right,
come in. They're, you know, if a child's father is a physician, he might come in. A veterinarian came in last year. A school psychologist participated last year. A weatherman participated last year. But these kids go by through it so fast, I don't know what they really learn from each one of these.
well, they're a little bit younger. I'm thinking at the high school age, they're a little more mature and they will have a little bit more deeper conversations because they're gonna have to make these decisions for themselves. what
Yeah,
career
it's such a
choices
short
are.
period of time to do it in a couple of hours. They did it at night.
Well, at the high school, they should be sponsoring something like this. I'm sure you could get a lot of volunteers from the community with different backgrounds that would probably be willing and hopefully happy to help.
We can absolutely work on that.
Great, thank you.
Miss Poppy, do you recall what the date is to sign up to volunteer for the career fair at the middle schools?
I can find out and get that information out, for sure.
I'm sorry, I did have one more thing. Mr. Kolahifar will be
Are
bringing
you
some
volunteering?
administrators to the diversity hiring fair at Nassau BOCES, and that will be on March 11th, I believe? Yes. March 11th, 2023. So he secured a spot for our district to be part of that fair.
Thank you. We have a letter to the governor, another letter that we're sending. Just. No, it's right here. It's, can I please have a motion to approve and send the attached letter to the governor's office in Albany?
I'll motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Linda, do you think you could post this on, online? So this will be posted online for anyone to read. It's in regards to having choice with the vaccine.
Yeah, there's a new bill. There's a new bill in the assembly that's looking to make the COVID vaccination mandatory for kids to attend school. So the board wrote a letter in response to that bill.
And if we can send it to senators too.
It is. I revised the letter on the agenda, which has been approved. It's being copied to the assemblymen and our state senator, Alexis Week. I do have it for you guys to sign, and I will also add it under the BOE tab on the district homepage.
Up next, budget presentation by Mr. Hauser, enrollment, staffing projections, and instructional programs. Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
You're welcome. Good evening. This is going to be our, I believe, third budget presentation. Tonight, we're going to be focusing on enrollment projections, staffing projections, and we will also touch base a little bit on instructional programs. I just want everyone to know that this presentation will be posted on the website, most likely within 24 hours. So I know it's difficult to see on these small monitors, so you will have an opportunity to actually view it at your own leisure and print it out as well. I understand there's a problem right now on our website accessing the prior presentations, so we have the website vendor looking into that. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the calendar from pretty much start of the budget cycle to the end, and I highlighted where we are right now, which, as I mentioned, was the staffing, enrollment, and projections. We're almost, I'll say, 90 days, a little bit more away from the actual budget vote in May. If you can believe that, right? March, April, May, as we get closer. So the next presentation will be on March 7th. Next slide, please. So I just want to quickly go through the budget process here and all the different items that we look at as we're evaluating the different budget presentations, as well as getting ourselves to the final budget. So, and this is not necessarily in any particular order. So the first things is we definitely look at programs, services to identify our budget priorities. We consider any enhancements that we can make to different programs, look at our innovative practices and our district-wide goals and objectives. We determine what our enrollment numbers, or at least our projected enrollment numbers, are going to be, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we move through the slides. We review our financial reports from prior years. You're also going to see that I'm going to touch base a little bit on state aid. The governor did not have the state aid proposals available at our last budget meeting. They came about a week later on February 1st, so I'll have that to present as well. We take a look at our current school year that we're in, the revenues that we collect, as well as the expenditures that we make to date. We consider all of our debt service requirements, whether they be for bonds, bond anticipation notes, or even tax anticipation notes. On the next column over there, we monitor our cash flow reports very carefully on a monthly basis. Like I said, we take a look at what our revenue projections might be. That's not always easy to do, but we try to focus on that. We take a look at state and federal aid information. Collective bargaining agreements, so those are mostly the bargaining units that we have here at the school that represent the majority of the staff. We also factor in our multi-year capital plans, and then we look at our strategic plans as well. Next slide, please. All right, what I did here was I tried to keep this as simple as possible. So last Thursday, I believe, which was February 1st, the governor came out with her projected state aid. It's not actually what the state aid numbers are going to be, it's just her projection. Typically by March 31st, the state legislature meets with the governor to decide on the final state aid numbers, but historically, these numbers that the governor presents are usually fairly close to what the final state aid numbers are going to be in March. So I highlighted the main areas here of state aid, and this is really how it comes to us. So I didn't put these numbers in any particular order. I highlighted the 2023-24, that's the next school year, so those are the numbers that the governor is telling us are her projections for Connecticut only. Okay, if you go down to the very bottom and you see the numbers I highlighted, the total numbers in bold, you can see that our state aid in total is actually scheduled to go down about $113,000. So that might not sound like a lot of money, but the talk, and you're going to see some evidence on the next slide, is that neighboring districts all around us are typically getting more money than we are. So there are actually other districts who are getting positive increases in state aid as opposed to negative. Shirley?
How is that decided, that we get less in our surrounding area? Is it, are you talking about Central Islip and Brentwood? Or are you talking about Sayville, Central Islip and Brentwood, and Patchogue, and, you know, what are the surrounding areas you're referencing?
Yeah, the next slide you're going to see, and we can go there quickly. I'm just highlighting this slide only because there are numbers above the name of each school district. So this, from left to right, is in numerical order of
Okay.
how school districts are identified. I didn't pick them randomly, it's just how the state aid report comes out. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total districts, with Connecticut being one of them. And so, for the most part, they are around us. And you can see all the way down at the bottom, down here, change in state aid, okay, the total aid. So, for example, Islip School District, they're scheduled to go up about $3.5 million. Next one over is East Islip, $231,000. Sayville, a little over $1 million. Bayport Blue Point, $430,000, and in Hauppauge, about $1.8 million. So it's important to note, though, that there are multiple lines that make up state aid. The top part of this report here is 2022-23. That's the current school year we're in. And then the bottom part is the 2023-24, the projected school year, okay? So, Lee, just to answer your question, we'd have to really delve into each one of those line items to see why those individual districts are experiencing an overall increase versus our district that's going down. And it could be a variety of factors, from building aid to transportation aid to high-cost students, BOCES aid. There's even a line in there for pre-kindergarten as well.
What's the criteria, Bob? What makes a district need aid more than the other districts?
Well, the one aid that you hear that's commonly talked about is that top line up there called foundation aid. It's a very complicated formula that's, I'll say it factors in the number of students, a total pupil count for the most part, and a particular aid amount that's associated with those students. Years ago, foundation aid was actually cut significantly. The state has tried to restore that foundation aid. This is actually the 2023-24 is actually the final year of the full phase-in. So, to answer your question, Marisol, some of these lines are based on individual student counts, whereas something such as building aid, for example, would be based on a project that we might have and is not necessarily pegged to enrollment. Okay, Jesse, if you just go back one slide, please. So here, what I did is I took our state aid numbers and I just summarized them so that you can see what the actual changes are in a little simpler format here than actually looking at that next page where there were so many other districts combined with ours. Okay. All right, next slide. 2 slides, I guess you can go. Okay. So here, when we said we were going to talk about enrollment tonight, this slide here is almost a year ago, January 28th, 2022. And I highlighted the column all the way to the right there called actual enrollment, and it goes down by school building. So you can see on that particular day, a year ago, as a snapshot, if you go all the way down that actual enrollment column, you'll see the number 5,271. So that was our actual enrollment. That's not the column to the left of it that says attendance on that day. Okay, we focus on how many students are actually enrolled in the district versus what the actual attendance was on that day. So key number down there at the bottom, 5,271. If you want to round it, you could probably say 5,300 a year ago, okay? Next slide, please. So forward 1 year, okay, this is January 27th, 2023. I highlighted in green this time. Over to the right, you can see actual enrollment, 5,323. So you could, a couple of takeaways on this. You could say, number one, the enrollment is steady. It's not declining. In fact, it went up a few students, which is a good thing, obviously. But all in all, you'd actually have to look at individual buildings to see some of the pluses, minuses, and how we actually get down to what our total enrollment is. So I don't want you to think every building is experiencing significant enrollment or declining enrollment, but overall, we're holding pretty steady at 5,300. Okay, next slide, please. So back in 2018, almost 5 years ago, the district retained Western Suffolk BOCES to do an enrollment and a demographic study. And BOCES took a look into the future using February 2018 as a starting point. And what I did on this slide here is I highlighted where we are today. Okay, so down at the bottom of the slide, you can see 2022-23. And BOCES, for the most part, projected that we would be somewhere between 5,268 students, and if you just carry it over a little bit, around 5,196. So we're not too far, I'd say within 100, if you want to say, 100 students of where BOCES projected us to be 5 years ago, okay? And I'll let you make of it what you like on the future going forward there. You can see how it's a declining trend, but that's a projection. Done 5 years ago.
I don't want to interrupt you, Bob, but I'm going to. The board probably should start thinking about the next study, because this was a 2018 study. So now that we're in 2023, we now have live births. So they will actually now project out from the live births and all of the data that comes out of the hospitals and the like, what the next 5 to 10 years would project to look like. So within the next year or so, the board should think about doing an additional BOCES study. I know we looked at Reza. Do you remember the cost?
It was around $11,000.
11,000, okay. So just something that the board may want to think about, because the study is now, 5 going on 6 years old, and there are live births that have happened that they're 5-year-olds and they're in our buildings. So it would be better to have better information.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. And just so everyone's aware, anything for the most part to the left of, say, 2018, those are actual numbers, okay? So if you take the slide that's up there now and you look all the way to the left, you can see that back in 2017, 2007-2008 school year, we had a total enrollment of over 6,900 students, okay, versus today, which, like I said, around 5,300. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this slide is really taking a look at our elementary schools only, and for the most part, it is a projection as to where we feel elementary class sizes will be based on our budget guidelines that we've established and that the board is actually going to adopt tonight. So for the most part here, we're going to use in the kindergarten through second grades, 22 students and under as the class size. And for grades 3 through 5, we're using 25 students and under. I'm going to defer to Mr. Kolahifar, who actually prepared the slide.
Reza, can I just ask something?
Sure.
So I'm looking at this and Basti,
So I was gonna say that
Okay.
before I.
yeah, because you know, I'm like 26, what's
Right.
this?
Basti, there is an error. We put Basti at 2 sections, and you'll see that it says that they're gonna be down 2 sections, but that 5th grade is at 26, which is a bit high. So we are gonna have to project that at 3 sections, which would put around 17 or so kids per section. And that would bring our total elementary teaching staff up 2 sections, which means we're gonna have to look for 2 elementary teachers.
And what about Sycamore for kindergarten and first grade? I feel like 24 kids in a kindergarten class is a lot.
And that's why we do this, so if the board wants to change that out, we certainly can. We can put 3 teachers in the section, so at 48 kids, we're talking about 16 kids per section. So that would make our total elementary staffing enrollment at 3 additional elementary staffing.
I don't understand how it went, like, I'm so confused, because if the number of students is going down, is it elementary it's going up and is it
Well-
secondary?
Yes, and as you saw from Bob's projection, last year at this time, the enrollment was at about 5,270. This year, at the same exact time a year later, we're up about 50 students, which is 3 classes, so that kind of makes
I'm
sense.
just looking at all the other all the other schools in the district have 15, 17, 19 kids, and then Sycamore's 24 in the kindergarten. I don't see how that's fair to the kindergartner.
No, again, this is just a projection, and I have no issue with changing things up and revisiting this as the board decides to make different moves somewhere. Initially, I had put 24 as the maximum in the K through 2, but it is 22 as Bob showed you. Actually, he didn't show them on the next slide, right? But that is on the next slide. So we're going to have to rework this and come back to you with different numbers.
Yeah, because I'm also, like I said, the reason I was concerned with the Basti is because even though it's 5th grade, the way I look at it is, I've always been told that last minute, normally in August or September, more kids could get added. And once they did, then we got to scatter to try to add a section.
The same holds true for kindergarten. You have kids coming into the district at the last minute.
Well, the problem with kindergarten is we don't have the actual kindergarten numbers just yet.
Right.
All of these are projections based on what's currently in kindergarten. So you'll notice that in every column, they're exactly the same numbers. But we're not sure exactly what kindergarten will be. We won't have those numbers until May. And then typically in August, when people start seeing school buses, they remember they have to register their kid and, then our enrollment goes up.
I just remember, was it last year or the year before? It might have been the year before, where Cherokee last minute had to add a section. We pushed to add a section to make it, there was one class.
That was Cherokee.
And-
We projected them at around 80, and then there were 104 or something.
Yeah, it was
like
something
that.
crazy,
It was
And I
pretty
just
crazy.
remember parents were upset, and they had a right to be, because they got a letter, they got the envelope with one teacher on it, and then like a week later, some kids who thought they were in class with some of their friends show up with, one kid went here, another kid went there. I just would prefer if we can do that before those go out, so we don't have that kind of,
Those, Dr. Adams or Christina, do you know when those letters go out from the principals? Right, those don't go out until late. So we'll have better numbers for you later this year, before any of those go out in the summer. Right now, we're looking like we may be adding 3 elementary staffing teachers, potentially 4. I'm looking at some of the numbers saying we might need to add 4.
do we have any secondary that need, like, because my understanding is at the secondary level, the numbers are going down.
Sixth grade teachers are certified to teach elementary, so if sixth grade is starting to decrease.
Well, what about, are there, or do we not have any teachers that are secondary and elementary? Because
Unusual.
it's unusual, so it's normally just up to 6th grade, okay. So then 6th grade would be the only one that you could twin.
You don't have those numbers.
Kindergarten numbers, we get, the registration begins sometime in, in May. We usually have, and the principals have a little bit of a sense.
right now, you're putting 4 extra teachers into the budget.
Correct.
Not necessarily, they have.
Depending on sixth grade. If sixth grade has decreased enough that we would drop a section or two across the board in sixth grade,
Before the budget comes out.
absolutely. Right. Well, we always tend to keep at least one teacher in abeyance for what happened at Cherokee this year. That was an abnormal surge at the very end, where we usually would know more earlier by the end of June, so that we could come to the board and say, we need to use what we left in the budget to open another section. There was a large surge that was kind of unusual.
Yeah, that's why.
Good. Okay, could you just go to that budget guidelines slide, please, Jesse? So, like I said, tonight, there's a resolution that the board's going to approve the budget guidelines in its entirety. This is just one section here that relates to instructional staffing, but I mentioned that this presentation was just going to touch on instructional programming courses, and if you look at the second part of this statement that's up there. So secondary staffing, which is middle school and high school, shall be based on the total of enrollments in individual class sections. So that's one thing we are doing right now, is taking a look at all the course offerings in the middle schools and the high school based on our current enrollments and our projected enrollments. And then that last statement, regular high school classes with enrollments under 20. I do feel the next word is very important, may. Okay, so we're not saying that we will, but we are saying may not be conducted except as a 12th grade requirement for graduation. So we're currently in the process of taking a look at all of those secondary current courses based on the projected enrollment. Yes, they would be included. Last slide, please. Okay, so I know there have been questions by the board and comments. Do any of the board members have any additional questions, comments, suggestions that you'd like to bring up?
So I'm assuming at the next meeting, we'll be talking about the high school and middle school staff?
Yes, we'll bring that up in more so in line with what we feel the projected expenditures are going to be. So yes, that will be included.
While I've always said that I really like small class sizes. I like K to 2 under 20. I like 3 to 5 under 22. I understand that we have to be fiscally responsible, especially this year with the less aid that it looks like we're gonna be getting. But if we can just at least try to stay away from that 26, 25 number as best as possible, I think it starts to get difficult. Or if we're gonna do that, offer those teachers the aid, that option should still be offered, not frowned upon. We'd like them to know that it's actually offered and they can have it if they choose to. With additional support with no issue, no, it's not frowned upon, it's not, when the Board of Ed walks away, they go like this, don't get it. No, if they need it, because it's for the kids.
Okay, thank you.
Before we go to the first public comment, which will be for agenda items, I would like to acknowledge somebody who's here tonight. And with a certificate of appreciation. We had, for those who don't know, Don, don't go anywhere. We had a personal safety for students where they did a Good Samaritan training, an in-depth one. It was excellent. You can see it on the Connecticut Central School District website. They came in, they worked with the kids on basic life-saving skills. They did awareness instruction to teach them about the chest compressions for first aid, the ability to control bleeding, to clear the passageway of a choking victim, and the use of an AED. The 1-hour awareness presentation was taught by our district security staff, who are certified instructors. The class is not part of an official certification course, but instead provides students with the knowledge and capability to jump into action if a life-saving opportunity should arise. We really want to thank Don Flynn, our head of security from Covert Investigations and Security, for all he's done and all he continues to do, along with his staff, who are exceptional, by the way, in helping teach our kids and get them prepared for these kind of issues with safety and security, and make sure that everybody, whether it's staff or students, are trained in the event that we need them to be. Come on up, Don. Well, I'll definitely say thank you to the superintendent. Thank you to Christina Poppy. Thank you, Adam, just all of your security guards. Thank you for everybody jumping in. Thank you to Mr. Mallory for bringing this in. But Don, we would like you to come up and get the certificate.
All right, Adam, you come up, Adam, for him.
I'm gonna kill him.
You notice this team is coming out of the woodwork.
It's just something that's really unique to Connecticut. Over 3,000 students will have been trained by the covert security team in these life-saving measures. Quite frankly, I think it's extremely special that we've done this. I can't thank Don and Mr. Mallory enough for putting it together. It was something that I thought about this summer when we think about any kind of tragedy that happens. We want people to be able to respond and save each other or themselves. And, Don put it on the ground. His team taught 18 periods over the space of 2 days at the high school. I'm going to do the same thing at the middle schools. So over 3,000 kids will be trained. The teachers were invited to come down. The staff was invited to come down on their free periods, receive the same training. Our elementary staff, our principals are looking to put together something after school as a voluntary thing for our faculty and staff to be trained as well. I can't thank them enough. We are completely unique in laying this out for all of our kids, district 6 through 12, so over 3,000 kids. That's pretty special. That keeps the community safer, not just because they're going home and being able to use those in their home as well. So it keeps us all safer. So I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Don.
Excellent job. Excellent job, Christina. Excellent job by all of you who put it together and rolled it out. We really appreciate it. It's something that we wanted to see for a long time, and I'm glad that we're able to see it, and all these kids are, I'm happy I'll be able to be around them. God forbid we need them.
I need it. Definitely want to make sure that you don't.
So moving on to our next is going to be public comment. Before I read this whole long speech, I just want to ask if anyone has a consent agenda item. Okay, so let me read this then. I will now open the floor for the first public comment portion of the agenda. This public comment period is only for consent agenda items. An additional public comment period will be held later in the meeting. Please raise your hand if you have a question or comment on a consent agenda item. Was it just you, Jenny? Anybody else have a consent agenda? Jenny, you can go.
I have a budget question. Actually, I have two. So we discussed that, you mentioned that we might have to hire more teachers and stuff like that. I'm just curious, because I know we hired a lot of teachers during COVID, and because we had to meet the needs of the students, because we were doing virtual and stuff like that. Well, we're no longer doing virtual, and we're no longer doing a lot of different things that we had to do during COVID. So where are those teachers that we hired? So couldn't they fill in those pieces that we need so our children can have in class, you know, the way that we need to with the smaller class sizes, the appropriate class sizes? So maybe that might be an idea that we could look into, and maybe redistribute our classes, the way our staff, the way that it would be better suited for the students. And maybe also for the staff too, because maybe it would alleviate some of the burden across the board, and they would be, you know, have their own classroom. It would be something every day. Maybe we have somebody who's moving around constantly to fill in spots. Maybe they could be a permanent spot, and that would be a good thing, and that might be something that might fill in that gap there. The other thing that I wanted to ask, actually, you mentioned regular high school classes may not be conducted except for like 12th grade if they were needed for graduation. You mentioned it could be like electives. Are you considering AP and honors classes electives also? Because those aren't technically needed for graduation, but is that considered an elective? Because that would really fall under that would be the pace at which a child learns, much akin to special education. So, I mean, how are we categorizing an elective in that verbiage? Because I would hate for kids who are on a certain track to, because every child should have the opportunity to learn at a pace at which is, you know, appropriate for them. That's our goal, is to provide an appropriate education for every single child at every level. So I hope that that's not a consideration as part of the elective.
So I think I can answer that if that's okay. All right, so in response to the second question regarding elective courses, I think a comment was made about more of a secondary perspective coming out during the next meeting. But I think that there are also individual cases, and we're not talking about these numbers as kind of blanket numbers for every high school course. And maybe that's why it needs to be a separate discussion, because as you mentioned, to your point, there are courses that are on the smaller side that fulfill graduation requirements for particular students for particular reasons. So that's a more nuanced conversation that would come during the next Board of Education meeting.
Okay, because I would just hate to see, because I know in the past that they've eliminated some certain classes because maybe there was only 8 children, say, for a class for like an AP science or a math. Those children shouldn't be penalized because they are able to learn they need to learn at a faster pace, because that is where they are educationally.
Right.
Just like we wouldn't penalize a child who learns at a slower pace because that's where they are educationally, because their class size is slower. So I don't think any child should be penalized. So I just hope that that's a big consideration when we're looking at the big picture of this educationally.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Can I please have a motion to approve items 2 through 8 for financial matters recommended action?
Motion.
Are there any questions?
No.
All in favor? Motion carries. Instructional and non-instructional personnel matters. Can I please have a motion to approve all personnel schedules as presented?
Motion.
Is it as a second?
We didn't amend it because it was pulled, right?
Yeah, I removed them before the meeting started.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
If I could just ask, who made the motion? I didn't hear it. Oh, thank you, Miss.
Consent agenda. Can I please have a motion to approve items 2 through 19?
A motion, but I have a question.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so are there any questions? Go ahead, Mylon.
So, I have a question for Bob. There was, it's through, I'm sorry, through the budget transfers, there was, significant amounts transferred for contractual transportation and cost of transportation. Was that to cover,
Mainly Suffolk Transportation, the routes that we're not able to do ourselves with, because of the shortage mainly with bus drivers.
so that's almost 600,000 right there. And then the cost of transportation was 125,000?
I believe isn't it all going to contract transportation?
I think the way you had that one worded is cost of transportation.
Oh, is it the reasoning?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I just have one other question, with the cybersecurity. I remember bringing this up a few months ago. So what is this policy limits on here? And, as many of, our staff knows, or community knows, that, the county was hacked and the town was hacked. So with this insurance, would it help offset some of that burden? Because I understand that they're quite in a pickle financially because of not having these kind of protections in place.
Yes, that's a great point you're bringing up. So this is excess cyber liability insurance. So we've always had a basic $1 million policy
Right.
For cyber insurance. Unfortunately, a year ago, we did not have multi-factor authentication in place, which the excess cyber insurance company required. So it took us a little bit of time. We have that all in place now, that MFA. So now we're able to get this excess policy, this additional $1 million policy. So if something should ever happen to us, we now have $2 million in insurance that would help offset any potential costs. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Public comment.
Okay, yeah, no, we had added so many electives. We have more electives than anyone in Suffolk County. So they're not really looking at the AP courses. I think they're gonna take a hard look at some of the other courses. Yeah, yeah, I don't think they're looking at it. Yeah. No, I definitely, I think we all agree with that as a board. Right, no, that's why I said we have many electives. Yeah,
I think what they had said even with the electives was they weren't gonna get rid of electives. What they were gonna do is do them either every other year or every other semester, wasn't it like that? Or something where it was gonna be like half a year. Where,
look at the historic.
so to see how many kids really enroll in that elective so that there's more. Absolutely. Okay, so public speaking, public comment. I will now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Can I have number 1?
Okay, I wanted to discuss the scholarship, which I've been up here to discuss prior. So, Obviously, you know, I sent a litany of questions to you guys about the scholarship, and you guys were kind enough to offer me a meeting because I had so many questions so I could ask them. But I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? Quite honestly, I really would prefer a presentation. I think a presentation to the public would be the best way to do it because there's been no transparency with this particular topic at all. Our kids were sent home with a chip. The community has no idea what it is, and I think it would be unfair for me to meet privately with anybody to discuss and just have my questions answered, and then I would answer questions if someone asked me, and then somebody could debate that and say, well, that's not what we told them. So I feel like if we had a presentation, just like we have with the fact finding, where the public could come and they could ask questions here, or they could also submit questions ahead of time to the board and to the cabinet to be asked that day. I think that that would be the best possible option. I think that would be the best thing for the community. I think that we're owed that because I think that this, I'm very against this program, but that's my personal opinion. Maybe you guys will show me something and I'll change my mind. I doubt it, but maybe I'm open to it. But I do think that the parents deserve to know where this information's going, and many, many other things about this program. They're frequently asked questions on our school web pages. That's ridiculous. We deserve to know exactly about it. This was put in place with no knowledge by anybody in the community, and I think that that's completely wrong. So I'm requesting a presentation with a question and answer period for anybody who would like to come. And also, I would like people to be able to submit questions either prior or live, however you would prefer to set it up. I understand live often gets dicey. That makes sense. But I think that that's the best way to do it, so people have an opportunity to ask. If they choose not to take you guys up on the question asking, that's on them, but at least you guys did what you were supposed to do, and you did your due diligence on it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, Linda, you discussed the Suffolk County Police exam coming up. That's great. Civil service tests are great for so many kids. College isn't always a pathway, but you can go to college and take a civil service test. The police test, even though the officers are coming to do demonstrations, that test registration deadline is before that. It might be something the guidance counselors should be putting out there.
April.
There are kids who could take that test as a high school senior if that's a career path that they want. And I also think that we should be discussing that because a lot of kids don't know how to apply for a civil service exam if that's something that they want. These are jobs that offer insurance, they offer a retirement, they offer full health benefits. Very, very important thing. Also, as far as you mentioned having community people come in and volunteer for their jobs, the guidance counselor should be reaching out to local businesses, or somebody in our building, whoever heads this up, should be reaching out to local businesses, asking them to come in. Tradespeople, not just doctors and lawyers and physicians. That's great. That's not every child's path. And you know what? Let's give a variety. Let's let every child have the opportunity to see all the different things that we can do. Have real people come in from all different walks of life. We have a wonderful community. We need to reach out to them. And I'm sure that people will come and talk.
Thank you. Number 2?
I want to start by echoing what you said about Matilda, because it was fantastic. The kids were amazing. The teamwork between the kids, the ones that were on stage and stage crew, everybody, the staff, what they did with them, really was fantastic. Kind of brought me back to when I did it when I was dating myself at OBJ, when it was OBJ and high school. Great memories from doing theater. I know that neither Lee nor Marisol were at the Mental Health Advisory Council, but I was there, so I just wanted to add a few things to it. Thank you, Dr. Adams. You did bring up the suicide safety for parents. That was one thing I wanted to mention. And also there's a lunch and learn with the Director of Student Services every Friday from 12 to 12:30 via Google Meet. That's also on our website. And we also talked about a prom clothing drive where there are donations that are going to be accepted until February 20th at the Office of Central Registration at John Pearl. The clothing is going to be donated to Long Island Cares and the Nassau Suffolk Police Department's prom drive. And also, of course, the mental health resource tab is it's a work in progress. They're constantly updating it, so definitely keep checking that out. I want to bring up scholarship as well because I was also offered to meet, and I actually totally agree with her that we should have a presentation for full transparency about it. There are a lot of questions. And honestly, what I heard about what was on social media today about the students outside, somebody that advocated for safety, this was just like having a pile of kids standing there. I don't think that was a great idea, jammed at the doors. The other thing about it is that it was said to track attendance. Now, I did do a little bit of data searching. I looked back at some previous years, information that I foiled about enrollment. And honestly, since in 2016, the high school had 1,996 kids, and it has gone down. That's about 200 more than we have now. And we had less staff back then. So if we're going to use it for attendance, the data really doesn't support using it for attendance because we have more staff and less students at this time. So I really think that needs to be looked at, and the presentation, I think, is really awesome way to go to have parents involved in that, so we could all express our concerns about it. And the last thing I want to bring up is an idea of an anti-slur policy, which is a policy regarding certain derogatory and/or discriminatory language. A close friend actually mentioned this, that her son's college implemented this during sports. And if a student is caught using anything derogatory towards anyone else, they are written up and they do lose playtime. She said it actually did have a very positive effect on the student body. And after listening to a parent at the last meeting, I'm just a suggestion that maybe perhaps we should look into something like this for our district. It does seem to be gaining some momentum in other schools across the country. After hearing what we heard at the last meeting, I think, it's a possibility we should look into it. Thank you.
Can you just repeat the name of that policy?
Anti-slur policy? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3?
Well, I asked last time. Okay, you guys went to, I know the rule's been doing this 100 years, that's why I'm laughing. All right, so you guys did the OBMS lunch program, and it was great. You guys had a restaurant come in, and it was great, and that's awesome. I think part of the excitement, too, is that the kids are involved. They used to do, I don't know if they still do it, where they had like a student was like chef for a day, and they would come and help out in the actual lunchroom. They'd be a chef for a day, and they would get chosen. I think part of the excitement, too, is it's something fun to look forward to in the lunchroom. They get to help out. They get to be the chef. So maybe I don't know if we still do it in the middle school. Right, they did it today, but I'm saying they would do it maybe with the lunch staff. Maybe you pull a staff member, might be something fun. I don't want to put anything else on staff, so I don't want to be that person. But if people were willing participants and they were willing to do it, because sometimes you do have staff members. It's a lot of people in a building. There are people who, I would be willing to do it in my building. I wouldn't have no issue with it. But there are people who are uncomfortable with that, and that's fine. But it'd be cool to have the staff, but really the students, and it's a fun thing, and maybe that will make them more engaged and more willing to try the other stuff because they're like, oh my goodness, so and so made my popcorn chicken or whatever they have for the day. So I thought that might be something interesting to have them more engaged in the actual process of the food, whatever we're serving them, and maybe that's just an idea to get that going. Another thing is I did send an email to you guys. I know it was just recent, but I just wanted to make sure it was out there requesting a survey of the district. Seems a lot of parents are hiring tutors for their kids, and I've noticed this in the last 16 years, that there's a booming tutor business going on at the Connecticut Library, amongst other places, and that's only the ones I see. I don't have an issue with that. I think, obviously, if your child needs support, it's great if you could do that. There are a lot of parents who cannot do that because it's extremely expensive. But I also think it's a little concerning. And I don't mean this as a negative. I definitely don't mean this as a negative against any staff or anything like that, but I think that we clearly have a need. So if we have a need, let's figure out what that is. So if we could put a survey out, if parents are hiring tutors or they have hired tutors, what are they hiring them for? What grade are they hiring them for? What subject is it for? I'm not asking for teachers' names or, my kid had whatever and they didn't. It's irrelevant. But if we know, we knew for years that going from 5th grade to 6th grade, the kids were floundering in some areas. Let's plug up that hole, because if we're not helping the teachers the way that they need to be supported, it's not helping the children. They're not supported. The families are struggling. So I feel like we need this piece of information to see, where are the holes here? Where are the holes in our curriculum that maybe we could fix and we could support everybody? And I think that might go a long way. And it might be a good piece of data to have, Not a negative, not a negative.
I know it's not negative. Mrs. Poppy, our 5th graders that struggled into middle school, didn't we add an extra section just of math alone to help them get through any challenges?
So we have added some programs to help them get through challenges, academic challenges. We're looking at ways to get them socially more acclimated to middle school as well. We've done both, but I don't think this is necessarily.
That's a totally different.
This is a
it's totally
different bent on
animal.
the
But that was just
question.
an example I just picked.
I know.
We knew that there was an
Okay.
issue. We worked to try and do something to fix that. This would just be another piece of the puzzle if we had this data from Kate, because I'm seeing elementary kids being tutored. I'm seeing all the way up till 12.
I'm questioning if some of it isn't COVID. related.
It's not, because you
No?
know what? I have a kid who's almost 21 years old, and the business was booming when he was in elementary school. So, you know, it makes me sad. I hate to see the kids struggle, and the parents are struggling.
Just to piggyback off that, I know that you put out, Mrs. Papa, you put out all those different programs for the Saturdays. I know that I had said a while back that maybe that was gonna be difficult for some parents to do because of sports or the arts or whatever they do on weekends. Some kids work. Is there anything we can look into maybe for the next meeting or the following meeting that maybe some of that money, that grant money, we could do some sort of tutoring service as a group? Like, and I'm just using this for example, we had said that the Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 were an issue because of during COVID, Algebra 1, kids didn't really get the gist of it, so now they're in Algebra 2, and it may cause them an issue. I'm only using that one as an, maybe then there could be a big tutoring class after school one day, as opposed to these Saturdays.
So maybe I should distinguish between what Scope Saturdays is and targeted tutoring, which is the reference that you're making to the math support. So we were able to, through federal grant monies, put that math support in place. And that's occurring in an after-school fashion. And that's in order to prepare our students to, as you mentioned, shore up those skills, those basic fundamental skills in algebra so that they're better ready to attend to their Algebra 2 course.
Isn't that on the PSAT and the SAT, or am I wrong? Algebra 2, is Algebra 2 on the? Yes. It is, so that's what I'm saying, so those are skills they're gonna need to take those kind of tests
Throughout.
and do better.
So we do have that in play. And during Scope Saturdays, which is the enrichment series that is concluding this coming Saturday, our secondary course offerings that filled were SAT prep for mathematics and for the English portion of the SAT. Those are the two more academic courses that were offered. The others are more enrichment-based. They all have an academic foundation or basis, but the goal is really socialization, to get kids inside of a learning environment where they're having fun and they're, accomplishing some takeaways after they interact with their classmates and they solve a challenge or they engage in a particular project. And those have been very successful. On average, we've had about 220 students attending every Saturday. All of our courses filled. And I know that there were some concerns about the registration the previous time that we offered this over the summer. So we made some changes during this iteration of the enrichment series, and we'll continue to take parent feedback after this series concludes for our next iteration of the Scope Enrichment series.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And just to follow up also on your comment, I agree wholeheartedly with the survey to the parents on the who, the what, the why, the where. Like, why are you getting a tutor? What grade? What subject? And see where we see the most need, and then try to figure out from there how to help that area. It's a great idea.
This is also something I'm more than happy to take into the curriculum committee, and our next meeting is on Monday, the 13th of February. So we can
Perfect.
bring that up as a topic of discussion as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Number 4. Number 5? What number did we go up to?
They're done.
What? All right, so then let me just, here we go. Can I please have a motion to adjourn the February 7th Board of Education meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.